Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is one of those videos, and it's nice to mix it up with these videos where we don't have graphics or videos on the screen, where you literally don't even have to watch the screen. Just leave me playing in the background, chuck your headphones in while you're going for a walk or at the gym, put it on the TV while you're doing some ironing or something, or put it on the car speakers while you're going for a bit of a drive. This is one of those videos where you don't need to watch, just put it on in the background and enjoy. Now look, this is a really interesting topic to talk about when it comes to sealed products and investing in Pokemon cards, because there is almost like a little bit of lottery to it. We sit here as investors and YouTube content creators, and look, some of us do and some of us don't. And look, maybe I can be held accountable for doing it sometimes as well. We sort of sit here and act like maybe we can predict the future, when in fact we can't. Look, we can make educated assumptions or educated guesses, just like people that are, massive analysis of watching football games, whether it's, American football or the world game football, or whether it's Australian football. There's people that know way more about it than what I do. And when they make educated guesses about how a game's going to play out, how a player's going to perform, how the season's going to go for a team, they're better at it than what I am, because they study it in and out. And look, I'm not saying I'm the best at it, not at all, but I'm saying, I have a fair bit of experience in the TCG, I have a fair bit of experience in the investing side, and hopefully I've got some advice that maybe people want to listen to. So when it comes to all that, what I'm getting at is we don't know all the answers, and this is an interesting take on the hobby, because and look, Fusion Strike's the flavour of the month. Sorry, I'm taking a little while to get this out. I'm trying to process it in my brain and explain it in a way that makes sense. I saw a picture of Fusion Strike recently where someone had just stocked it under their bed. And look, I tried counting up the booster boxes, and maybe they had somewhere in the vicinity of 80 to 100 Fusion Strike booster boxes. And there's plenty of arguments to be made for and against doing that, buying in at a certain price when, it was 90 or 100 US dollars a box, and then selling it, and the hassle of trying to sell that many boxes versus, maybe buying one expensive team up booster box for $4,000, waiting for it to double in price and go to $8,000 and just sell the one box to make $4,000. Look, I get all the arguments around it. That's not the point I'm trying to make in this video. The point I'm trying to make in this video, and let's get to the crux of it before we start the argument, is that we sometimes think we can predict the future and know it all, when the fact is there are going to be some sets that will just take everyone by surprise and outperform the market, or outperform what we all think. And Fusion Strike is probably the best example of that. And I don't want to sound like a broken record and harp on about Fusion Strike, because this isn't a video about Fusion Strike. This is a video about not knowing exactly what the future is going to bring for multiple sets. Now, I spoke about this in previous videos when it comes to Fusion Strike. It was so surrounded by greatness. It was surrounded by hype and greatness. Hype for 25th anniversary, so celebrations. Hype for Evolving Skies and how amazing that set was. Hype for Brilliant Stars, the reintroduction of Trainer Gallery, and a Charizard Alt Art, and a gold Charizard, V-Star mechanics added to the game. And it was almost like forgotten about because it just sat there. And look, no one said it was a bad set. No one said, oh, this is a rubbish set. Everyone said, look, the new VMAX could be a better card, but the set was quite solid. It had a decent, it had decent chase cards, albeit, maybe only a handful of them, 5 or 6 of them. It had a beautiful artwork on the box, but no one sat there and said, this is the investment. We can all say we did. And look, I spoke about Fusion Strike quite strongly when it started to uptick in price as supply started to dwindle, because as supply started to dwindle, the basic mechanics of investing in sealed Pokemon cards, particularly when it comes to booster box, is when there's next to no supply left, it's only got one option, but to go up. Because even if there's not an increase in demand, if there's a drop off of supply because all major retailers are sold out, can't buy it on TCG Player as much, it's sold out on Pokemon Center, only one thing's going to happen. It's like supply is next to gone. Supply has moved to the hands of individuals, and when that happens, individuals, that is, me, you, anyone else watching this, you control the price of that product. It's no longer bound by major retailers in the Pokemon Center controlling the price of that. It's the open and free market that now controls the price of that booster box. So it only had one direction to go. And I didn't expect it to go to the heights that it's gone to. I knew it's a better set than what people gave it credit for. And I knew it was going to perform well. And I knew supply was vastly dwindling. So it just made sense on the channel to suggest people to buy it. I didn't think it would go to over 1,000 Australian dollars a booster box or 700 US dollars a booster box, in the next 12 months or 18 months since I was spruiking it so heavily, from like 150 US. That's crazy gain. That's massive gains. And look, congratulations, including myself, that bought into Fusion Strike booster boxes, because, we've seen some phenomenal gains. Now, with all that aside, what we need to ask ourselves is, what's the next set to do that? So we've got Scarlet and Violet here out, and we can look at it from Scarlet and Violet base through to Journey Together, what we're up to, and Destined Rivals coming around the corner, and we can go, you know what? There's going to be a gold nugget sitting inside here somewhere. And we can look at it almost like Evolving Skies and go, Prismatic Evolutions is a home run. It's just going to be such a strong set because the total set value is just too good. Like, it's just massive. Pull rates are similar to Evolving Skies. You've got every evolution in a special illustration rare. You've got Master Balls to chase. You've got Pokeballs to chase. It's just a home run. If you can get your hands on any Prismatic Evolutions Elite Trainer boxes, particularly Pokemon Center Elite Trainer boxes, like, in 3 years' time, 4 years' time, 5 years' time, you just be laughing all the way to the bank. Like, that is just a home run. We know that's going to happen. Just like Almost, we knew that was going to happen with Evolving Skies from Sword and Shield because it was just so strong. It had so much depth of chase cards. It had such a good total set value. It was just going to be like the home run from Sword and Shield. And we can also probably look at 151 and go, you know what? Total set value isn't as good as Prismatic Evolutions. Personally, I prefer the artwork from 151 compared to the artwork style from Prismatic Evolutions, but the total set value is not there. The level of chase cards isn't there. It could have done maybe with a few more special illustration rares, but the nostalgia factor will just drive that set. So we can look at those two sets, Prismatic Evolutions and 151, and just go, you know what, they're the home runs from Scarlet and Violet era so far. They're just going to perform so well. If you can get your hands on Elite Trainer boxes or Pokemon Center Elite Trainer boxes or booster bundles, great. License to print money, essentially, in my opinion. But then we need to look at the rest of it, from Scarlet and Violet base through to Destined Rivals, and we go, what's going to be the Fusion Strike from Scarlet and Violet? And that's a really big question, because when we talk about a budget and investing in sealed Pokemon cards and you think, well, I've only got so much to spend, and look, everyone does. And look, there's some whales in the world that maybe have so much money on their hands it doesn't matter. But for the general person that's trying to work a 9 to 5, keep a family operating, pay the mortgage, pay the bills, buy the groceries, we've only got a certain amount of money to allocate to Pokemon cards to enjoy a hobby, just a little piece of the pie that you can enjoy. Maybe everyone has hobbies. I love playing golf. I don't mind playing the Nintendo Switch. I'm not a massive gamer, but I love playing that. Mario Kart and Zelda and a few other games. But like, everyone's got their hobbies. And Pokemon card collecting / investing is a hobby to a lot of people. It's an alleviator of stress. It gives you something to focus on other than the stresses of life. Some, little piece of enjoyment that you can have. And unfortunately, we'd all like to have $10 million where we could just buy PSA 10 First Edition Charizard, Logan Paul's PSA 10 Pikachu Illustrator, every single, base set First Edition booster box, every First Edition booster. We'd love to be able to do that, but we can't. We have a limited budget. And when we have a limited budget, we need to ask ourselves, where are we going to allocate that funds? And we could go, well, I'm going to go in heavy on Prismatic Evolutions because it's a home run. I'm going to go in heavy on 151 because it's an absolute home run. But then there could be that Fusion Strike of the Scarlet and Violet era where people just miss the boat on. And there's a few factors that come into play there, as in, print run. Is there going to be a set from Scarlet and Violet and a booster box that is just less printed or lower printed than the rest of the era? Quite possibly. And that could have a big impact on things. What set feels maybe a little bit overshadowed at the moment and could start, and maybe isn't as loved as what it was or should have been out of the gate, but as time goes by, could get loved. And look, Team Up is probably a great example of that. When Team Up first came out, it didn't cop a reprint at all, so it was very low printed, but people weren't like, far out, this is a phenomenal Pokemon card set. Like, it seemed good, and a lot of the chase cards, they had nowhere near the value that they hold now. So it can happen. It can happen where a set comes out with a total set value of like $600 US. And then in 2 years time, or when the set's out of rotation, total set value could be pushing $2,000. And then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, You know, we've got multiple $300 chase cards inside this set. This set is properly good and a sound, solid investment. And you just don't know where that one's going to come from. So when it comes to allocating your funds, you then go, well, do I go all in and just go, you know, I've set myself a balance of $1,500 a month, or every 2 months, or $700 a month, or whatever the budget might be, $500 a month. I'm just going to go all in on prismatic evolutions. Or do you diversify a little bit more? Do you go, well, you know, this month I'm going to buy 2 prismatic evolutions ETBs, but then, you know what, I'm going to buy a temporal forces booster box because I can see some massive depth in chases there, and perhaps, just maybe, a couple of these chase cards that aren't maybe getting the love that they deserve right at the moment could become quite expensive in the future. I'm not saying that's going to happen. Like, I'm not saying that's going to happen to Temporal Forces. I'm just using that as an example. Or could you look at Twilight Masquerade and go, okay, well, there's every chance the Greninja could be the next Latios and Latios, where, okay, it's good at the moment, it's strong at the moment, but could it become a $600 raw chase card? What about Paldean Fates with Bubble Mew and the Charizard in there? Are they only going to get stronger? I feel like there's going to be one set inside Scarlet and Violet that A, gets lower printed, and B, the cards at the moment aren't appreciated as much as what they could be. And it's really hard to know. And I'm not saying I can predict that, because I can't. But it's just interesting. It's just an interesting topic to talk about, where you think, well, you know, I know a lot of people, and here's probably the best example, a lot of people have not been spending much money on Pokemon in the last 2 months, me included. Why? Because they feel it's too expensive, the price to entry is too high, booster boxes are too dear, elite trainer boxes are too dear, and it doesn't make much sense as an investor because you've got to buy way over retail to get in. And I know a lot of people that are saving or pre-ordered and spent a lot of money on Destined Rivals because they feel that's going to be the next Evolving Skies. Now look, do you do that, or do you diversify a little bit more? That's the $1,000,000 question. And look, I'm not here to answer that question. I'm just saying it's an interesting take and something interesting to think about when it comes to Pokemon card investing. Before we round out the video, thanks everyone that watches the channel. It's really, really appreciated. Massive shout out to today's video sponsor, which is, of course, the Collector app. Very, very easy app to use. I'll leave a link in the description. You put all your singles or your sealed product inside there. As an investor, it makes it so easy. As soon as you buy a product, punch it in, punch the price you paid for it. It'll give you current market price, show you percentage gains on the product. If you want to become a pro user, you can sign up to be a pro user. It's very easy to do. You'll go in the draw each month as a pro user to win very rare PSA 10 Pokemon cards. Being a pro user also allows you to customize your skin and look at the total time frame from products. So not just the last up to 12 months, but total time frame that the product's been out. I'm Michael, this is PokeOz. Catch everyone next time.